Hello, this is our English lesson for Wednesday, the 10th of June. So today we're going to look at plot point 1. We're going to read through the details from the story that I've put under plot point 1. We're going to think about choice of vocabulary, the sort of mood that's being created, and then we're going to follow a set of 3 criteria that you can see in front of you. Now, by the way, this is on page 4 of your PDF document, okay? I'm then going to model my own version, and I'm going to talk aloud the sorts of ideas that I've got in my head so that you've got a bit of a sense of where I'm coming from. And then I would like you to have a go at doing your own version, thinking about what you could take and magpie from the original story, what you can take and magpie from what I'm doing, and then how you can put your own ideas into it. So just like with the wish grant, we're just looking at a small chunk, a small plot point at a time. Okay, so plot point 1, I'm just going to read through it. Outside, the evening was cold and wet. A squally wind howled, rattling the roof tiles and shaking the window frames of 13 Wager Road. Inside, shabby curtains were drawn, a humble fire crackled, and a couple sat in silence. Jack stretched out on the tired couch with an amused smile, turning the page of his favourite novel. Sarah scowled, silently seething. She scanned the room, noticing the worn-out furniture, peeling paint, and, in her opinion, a pointless, idle husband. She deserved so much more than this. Okay, now, before we go ahead to talking about the criteria that we're going to use for our writing today, and before I start modelling, you'll see that there are 6 words in bold. And if you have a look at page 5 of your PDF file, you see that there's a vocabulary table there, okay? This is what the page looks like, and I've only just realised that I have written humble twice. I've only just literally realised that. This last humble here should be idle, I-D-L-E. Okay, now what I would like you to do with this, I don't want you to spend too long with this. We've got 2 columns. We've got 1 column for you to make a note of a small number of synonyms. Remember that synonyms is another word that means the same thing, okay? And then antonyms is the opposite. So thinking about words that have got an opposite meaning, okay? Now, I'm just going to quickly show you a website that I think will be very quick and easy for you to use. And I'm going to put in the top one as an example, okay? Okay, so this is the Collins Dictionary Online Thesaurus. When you go on this, do make sure that you click on English Thesaurus, because otherwise you're going to come up with words that have got potentially slightly different spellings. So you type in the word that you want. So I've gone for squally. I think it's very unlikely that you'll understand this word straight away, and that's not a bad thing. And what happens when you type in a word is that it will come up with a list of different synonyms, okay? Don't worry too much if this is a bit blurry, because you'll see for yourself when you look at it. Anyway, I'm just demonstrating it. And then if you scroll further down the page, it gives you those synonyms in a context. Don't go writing down lots. Choose a small number, 3 or 4 maximum for each one, okay? Likely, perhaps with the antonyms, you might have slightly less, okay? Now, the ones that I would choose for squally, and this is just my personal preference, okay? Well, I'm not going to go for windy. The reason why I'm not going to go for windy is because we're talking about the wind. So the wind is windy. No, I don't like that. Blustery is a good word. Wild. that seems a very easy word, but it really conjures up some negativity about the weather. Turbulence, a really good word. Tempestuous is amazing, but that's a very strong word. Okay, that's like really, really stormy and wild. Okay, so it's up to you. And then scroll down. Now let me put in another word for you. Shabby. And we'll see if anything happens on here. Right, here we go. So we've got a list of synonyms that have come up. And then underneath, we've got opposites. Well, if you think of antonyms as being the opposites, now whether this will come up for all of the words you put in, I'm not sure, okay? Going back to the squally, if you know that it's talking about something that's stormy, something that's wild, I would think that more obvious antonyms would be things like gentle, like a gentle wind. Oh gosh, I had quite a few in my head just a second ago. They've gone out of my mind. I'll see if I can think of those in the next few seconds. Tatty is a synonym of shabby. Not sure whether I like that one so much, but it's my personal choice, like it's going to be your personal choice which words you choose. Try to choose the synonyms that are appropriate to the context of where we're seeing these words. So, for example, if it's talking about shabby curtains, I don't think I'm going to choose down at heel for curtains. Okay, that's more a sort of the shabby effect of a person, maybe. Okay, anyway, so that's something for you to look at. Okay, what I suggest you do is set yourself a bit of a time limit, say 15 minutes max, to see how far you can get with this table and looking up the synonyms and trying to work out some antonyms as well. Okay, so have a go at doing that task and then come back to me. See you in a bit. Let's look at this short paragraph again then. So in this paragraph, we are being introduced to two characters, Sarah and Jack. We can clearly see that the writer is contrasting what is happening outside to what is happening inside, and that is made very clear with the prepositions as fronted adverbials, outside and inside. Okay, now what mood has been created in this opening? Well, outside we've got weather mentioned, haven't we, to set a sort of atmosphere, and not a very positive atmosphere, because we're talking about cold, wet, howling wind, rattling. Okay, and then inside, a very quiet atmosphere. Okay, but not necessarily quiet for a good way. Okay, we can see that one character, Jack, seems quite content, probably stretched out on a sofa maybe. It says that he is turning the book of his favourite novel, so maybe a book that he's likely to have read before, not worn before, dear oh dear, Mrs. Cooley. And then we've got Sarah, who, she hasn't got an amused smile on her face. She's quite miserable. She's scowling. Inside, she's silently seething. So we've got one character that seems quite content, the other character the opposite. So what we want to do in our writing today is we want to introduce the reader to a central character or characters. We want to contrast the scene inside and outside, just like this author has done. And we want to use the power of three. So what do I mean by the power of three? Well, have a look here. A squally wind howled, rattling the roof tiles and shaking the window frames of 13 Wager Road. We're given three details about what the wind is like, what the wind is doing. First thing, it's howling. Second thing, it's rattling. Third thing, it's shaking. that's what we mean by the power of 3. There's 3 details about the same thing, and that same thing is the wind. Okay? And then inside, if we have a look at this next sentence, inside, shabby curtains were drawn, a humble fire crackled, and a couple sat in silence. Again, we're being given 3 details. We're being given 3 details about what the inside is like. So the first thing are the shabby curtains being drawn. The second thing about the humble fire. And the third thing about the couple sat in silence. So again, another example of the power of 3. And then if we have a look here, Jack stretched out on a tired couch with an amused smile, turning the page of his favourite novel. Again, we've got power of 3. 1, stretched out. 2, an amused smile. 3, turning the page. And then if we have a look here, she scanned the room, noticing the worn-out furniture, peeling paint and, in her opinion, a pointless, idle husband. Power of 3. First, she scanned the room. Second, noticing the worn-out furniture and peeling paint. Third, noticing the idle husband. Okay, so this is what we mean by power of 3, using 3 details in a sentence. And we are going to have to use commas to separate those ideas, but where the details are all referring back to the same thing. So first sentence, it's all referring back to the wind. Second sentence, it's all referring back to what it's like inside. This one here, it's all referring back to what Jack is doing. And here at the end, it's referring to all the things that Sarah is observing, what she's noticing as she's scanning the room. And we can see within that then, within our power of 3 and within our details in general, we have got sounds. We have got things that the character can see, so what they are noticing. And then we've got feelings. Okay, now don't be, don't be confused. Just because it's got a heart there representing feelings doesn't mean to say it's positive. Because if we look at this paragraph, there's lots of negativity. Okay, but within it, we can see details to do with sounds, what is being noticed, and feelings. So we're going to follow this set of 3 criteria in our writing today and getting elements of these. Okay? So I'm now going to go on to my next slide, and I am going to take you through bit by bit how I'm going to model plot point 1 and how you can then model your own responses. Okay? Okay. I will maximise this once I've finished typing so that you can see more clearly, but this is so that I can type at the same time. Okay, so from the plot point 1, I've taken the first 2 sentences. Okay, outside the evening was cold and wet. That's quite a short sentence, isn't it? So I'm going to start with outside, comma, it's a fronted adverbial. Okay, I'm not going to have mine set in the evening. I'm going to have mine set in the afternoon. The bright summer's sky, the bright summer sky darkened without warning. Oh dear, what's going on with my typing? Outside, the bright summer sky darkened without warning. Short and sweet. Okay, then in this example, it talks about the wind. I'm not going to talk about the wind. I'm going to talk about rain, I think. Okay, plump raindrops began to tumble. Okay, I'm just going to have to stop there and I'm going to do a part 2.